Yo, what's up, guys? It's Schizomanical. Yeah. It's not fucking funny. It's not funny. So, hey guys, how are you guys doing? It's been a little bit. So I wanted to talk about something I've been meaning to talk about for a while, and it's becoming harder and harder to talk about because it's becoming less and less relevant to the point now in which it's irrelevant. But I am not a man of very logical decisions. I'm a man of action, so I'm taking action and talking about why I love Hikigaya Hachiman from my teen romantic comedy Snafu, or my teen romantic comedy is not what I expected, or Oregaru seasons 1 and 2, or light novel. The point is, it's a series in which 8 man, which is why, for those who don't understand that joke real quick, let's talk about it for a second. The reason why we nickname Hikigaya 8 man is because his name is Hachiman, and for those who don't know, Hachi in Japanese is 8, so 8 man. All right, anyways, so I wanted to talk about him. I really love the character. I really love that show. I probably would say it's probably in my top 10. And I just want to gush about it for a little bit. So if you will indulge me, I will appreciate you forever and ever and ever. So let's do this. Hikigai is kind of an interesting character because he's a character that it's kind of hard to put. I probably would say he's one of the more complex characters I've run across in recent years, and I've truly appreciated his different. He's a different take on the loner character. Now, loner characters have been in anime and in media before, but I kind of like Hikigai's take. Hikigai is a character who, just like every other like main character in harems or romance comedy series, he's a character who is a loner due to circumstance. His life just got fucked over. It wasn't in like a huge way, but it was enough of a way to kind of just warp his view of mind. Now, granted, before this, he was already kind of a nerdy, loserish kind of character to begin with. But the thing that makes Hikigai so much enjoyable, kind of like Kumagawa in Madaka Box, he's a loser who revels in the idea that he's a loser. Like, he has no fucks to give about people who call him a loser because he's very happy and proud to be a loser. He's a man who walks with confidence about his inability to talk to girls consistently, or not having many friends, or being into weird otaku shit at young ages, particularly in middle school. Like, he's very proud of his pessimistic, realist view of the world, and he's come to terms with it. Now, it's not like those kind of characters don't exist too, but I think the thing that makes him so enjoyable is that his whole ideology is based around the fact that he has no issue with the way he is. He doesn't believe he needs to change. That's actually what he says at the beginning of the series, is that he's like, I don't have a reason to change. He looks at, when people say, maybe I can change, as them conforming to society. Just because society looks down on people who are loners and who don't really interact with the world. And for him, it's like, well, why the fuck do the loners have to change? Why is it that the loners have to change? Why isn't it the social butterflies who need to fucking change? And the fact is that they have the same problems as loners do. The difference is that loners' issues stop them from interacting on a base level, whereas the other side of the coin, they don't have issues. Their issues are kind of locked behind closed doors. Fucking Hikigai can't even get onto the front porch at this point. That's the difference. He's also a character who is very proud and wants to do things his own way. And I think the thing that really nailed him on the head for me, like why I like him so much, is because his methods represent the kind of person he is, and he's very unapologetic for him. Like, in the first season, he's trying to help this one girl who's being ostracized in her group of classmates get unostracized, and the way he feels to do it is to destroy that entire group in the first place. If he makes everyone looks like the piece of shit that they really are, then they can all kind of reset from zero. Now, granted, this is not what you do to fucking 5 and 6 year olds, because obviously these are children and these they need to be handled a little more delicately. But that's the way he believes that it would make sense, because that's his ideology. And I think one of his best lines in the first season was his argument against nice girls. And I think the reason why people like me relate to him is because I can relate to the shit he's saying, and it also because it hits close to home for me. Like, for example, his speech about nice girls, how he hates nice girls, because the reality is that guys who aren't popular with girls take almost any interaction with a pretty girl or a girl that seems like they're out of their league, talking to them as a sign that they might be interested, even though the reality of the situation is that they're just being nice. Nice girls are nice to everyone, but a guy who doesn't get that many interactions with girls doesn't realize that. He doesn't, and technically it's not the girl's fault, but of course you hate the girl because your only interaction with a girl is probably this nice girl who's nice to you, who feels like she's strung you along. She hasn't really done that, but it feels like it. And he's like, well, fuck that. I don't want to deal with girls like that, because it gives my hopes up to making me think that they're actually interested in me, even though the reality is that they're not. They never were. That's just their personality. He's so open about how he can't stand that shit. Even in the second season, when the issue of his character flaws start popping up, like the fact that he self-sacrifices a lot. He's a character who can do that and there not be any consequence for him. There are certain characters who do that because they have such low self-esteem that they just want people to like them, that they'll just throw themselves under the bus. Hikigai ain't about that shit. The reason why Hikigai does it is simple. Hikigai does it because he thinks it's the most logical thing to do. He doesn't emotionally get hurt by throwing himself under the bus. The problem in season 2 for him was not having any empathy for other people. He didn't have any empathy for other people. He didn't understand that just because he doesn't get hurt by his actions, that other people aren't getting hurt. And that's also because to be fair, he's a character who also looks down on himself. He views himself as like the best loser, and he's very confident in his ability of being ignored and people not paying him any attention, that he's not used to the idea of people paying him attention. So when people like Yuki Noshita and Yui start feeling bad for him, he's not putting that into account because he never recognized that as a thing in the first place. So it's like all of a sudden they're mad at him and feeling some type of way because it's like, what the fuck? And he's like, I don't understand what the problem is. Because that's Hikigai. Hikigai, that's what makes him so appealing. He's a character who is so adamant and proud in his own self. He's a loser, but he's a proud fucking loser. He does not give a damn about anyone else's thoughts or opinions of him. He actually relishes in the idea that no one gives a damn about him. That's why in the second season, situations come up that it'd be like, well, how come you didn't realize? Well, it's because you had to get the idea out of your head that unlike other anime quote-unquote loser characters, because by the way, he's not a loser, but I'm just saying it for the sake of the argument, other loser characters like Hikigaya would be doing this because of their some confidence issues. That's not Hikigaya. Hikigaya just gave up pretty much on trying to interact with anybody or trying to get close to anybody. That's why his worst moments are when he can't interact with people. But that's also one of his best moments because it represents that level of awkwardness that people have in the real world, that social anxiety that pops up. Like one of his biggest fears we find out in the second season is that he hates the idea of not being able to understand. It drives him nuts. And the reason why is because that's what led to his life being shit in the first place. That he would misunderstand girls' feelings. He would misunderstand how people were reacting to him. I think in the first episode they show how awkward he is, and he does something that I think almost all of us have done at least once or twice. A girl goes, "Hey, you," while he's walking in the opposite direction. He turns around thinking that the girl was talking to him, only to realize that the girl was talking to a girl behind him. And it's that he feels like a jackass because he did the same thing that all of us have done. We've all been in those moments where we thought we were we misunderstood the situation. And honestly, Hikigai is a character from Jump who just has been through enough of that and does not care anymore. He just said, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna own it, and I'll just live my life the way I want to." And I fucking respect the shit out of that. I fucking love that he is so adamant in his abilities. Like, granted, he goes through his character development. He has changed as a character, but I don't want to spoil too much of season 2 for you, so I'm not gonna get into that. But he's a character who's proud in his failures. He's proud in his pessimism. He's proud in his lonerness. I don't know if lonerness. I don't think lonerness is a word. Don't question me, damn it. It's not an argument. He is not apologetic for anything that he does. And I think, and it's weird because the thing is that he's still wrong. I still wouldn't say the way he lives his life is necessarily the right way, but the confidence to live that way and to be unaffected is something a lot of people who are similar to him, like myself, especially me back in high school, I could truly respect, because it's something that a lot of us can't do. A lot of us are insecure. A lot of us are scared of ourselves. A lot of us don't know how to process these situations. A lot of us fall and trip and bust our ass so many times, and it takes a toll on us. So, to see a person who goes through the same shit but can kind of like revel in it and can kind of just make it out of that hole, it's something that, to me, it shouldn't be inspiring, but it kind of is inspiring. And the reason why I like my Mr. Batman 8-Man is because he if nothing else, you can't say that man had any real regrets. That man lived the way he wanted to. And at the end of the day, I think that's all we really wanted anyway. Is to be able to live the way we wanted to and be happy the way we wanted to without feeling like we lose. Because as Hikigai has shown us, there's no such thing. You can lose and still win, being the biggest loser.